Today, we're going to be talking about death metal because it's the first death metal video of Death Metal Month. It's going to be the most influential death metal albums, in my opinion. In my opinion only. Don't get pissed if there's not one on this list, or I put one on this list that you do not think is that influential. There's 15 of them. I dug deep inside the knowledge I have about death metal to and it's different scenes too. It's not just one. It's not just the Florida death metal scene. It's not just the Swedish death metal scene. There's some of the English scene as well. So we go into this with number 15, which is Pestilence Consuming Impulse. This is from 1989. I don't have nothing to use for memory purposes, so this will be a kind of a short discussion about this album. This album has blistering solos, amazing, like, the vocals are not as good as some of the other ones, but the guitars just go with the vocals, and the guitars are really heavy and really fast and extreme and have some cool death metal riffs in there. I just think this album is like way before its or after its time. Like, it came out way before it was supposed to, in my opinion. It came out in 1989, and it sounds like some of the death metal stuff they would be doing in Sweden at 1995, 1996. It sounds way out of place for its time, and it's just got to go at number 15 just because of that. Number 14 is one that I actually own, and I'm so glad to own a copy of this one, which is Malevolent Creation's first album, the Ten Commandments. This album is influential because, well, I think it's from 1991. Yes, it's from 1991. They pressed it on Roadrunner Records, which, if you know, nowadays does press a lot of death metal stuff. This album just kind of brought the whole 1991 time period. It's like a gem of its time, and it really is one of the best like releases of its time. It's one of the foremost best death metal albums of 1991 when death metal was going pretty damn strong. After 1995, death metal kind of fell off. This was the age of also, it was grunge and it was death metal, and thrash metal was completely screwed over. It was done. There was not really any good thrash metal albums that came out in the 90s, early 90s, but death metal, this album was one of the best ones that came out of that age. And we have two that are at number 13 because I couldn't decide which one is more influential between the two. And I also have them on the same pressing, which is Obituaries Slowly We Rot and Obituaries Cause of Death, 1989, 1990. Yeah, another one of those death metal albums that from a band that's really popular, really well known from the death metal scene. But these were some of the first death metal albums. Like, Slowly We Rot came out in 1989. There was really no death metal albums coming out at that time. It was more of like this was one of the first ones. The whole thing behind it is the sound, the tuning to I think it was D standard tuning on this album. They kind of brought it to the forefront of they're using heavier tunings for death metal now. We already know the Death albums were already out and they were already going strong, but new bands always inspire more bands after that. So with this one, Body Bag is an awesome song. If you've ever heard that song. Then we go to number 12, which is Seven Churches, the 1985 album. A lot of people consider this thrash metal. Yeah, a lot of people consider this thrash metal, but it's like it's pre-death metal, but it's still, I do consider it death metal. It even has a song on here called Death Metal. And it's a whole fight between which one's the first ones. First one, Scream Bloody Gore or Seven Churches. I gotta go with Seven Churches. I know a lot of people don't consider it death metal. The vocal style isn't death metal to this album, but and it inspired other bands to get into the scene as well. It was 1985, so I gotta put this on there. And we have 4 at number 11 because I can't decide between the 4. We got Bolt Throwers, Realm of Chaos, Bolt Throwers, War Master. We got Bolt Throwers, Fourth Crusade, and Bolt Throwers for Victory. They all mostly sound exactly like, they're not exactly the same sound, but they do kind of make that whole sound for the European scene or the England scene. I do like Bolt Thrower. I do consider their albums way influential towards death metal in the later half of the death metal, even in American death metal. The scenes kind of crossed over into each other. Bands were touring with each other that were from different scenes. The scenes kind of went overseas, which, if you know, that's one of the best things that could happen. Yeah, it's just that these albums are just so damn good, you can't differentiate which ones are more influential, because Bolt Thrower put out albums like almost every year back in the 90s. I think Realm of Chaos was 89, I think. Was it? Yeah, it was 89. This one's 89. That was another album that came out well before the golden age of death metal. That kind of was like the bringer of it. Then we go to number 10, which is a Swedish death metal. I think it's Swedish death metal. Don't quote me on that. Edge of Sanity, Nothing But Death Remains, their first album from 1991. Another 1991. Thing with this album is it's really freaking heavy and really not good production, but it's still I still think it's a very influential death metal album. That was like when they were death metal, like really death metal, and then they went to the more melodic death metal, like in the 2000s. I gotta go with classic Edge of Sanity albums if I'm gonna listen to that. Nothing But Death Remains is one of the best ones that they've done. Number 9, you probably already know, At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul. Swedish death metal. I think it's Swedish. So along that style. And no, I didn't put Entombed on here. I ran out of space and I wanted some other albums on here that I felt were a little bit more influential to the new scene. So that's coming up. Really, this album is amazing. It's got everything that death metal you want in death metal on it. And it just inspired a whole new scene. It even inspired Avenged Sevenfold somewhat. So it inspired other scenes too. Inspired the new metal scene completely. Not new metal as in NU metal, but new like in NEW metal. I gotta stress that because I don't know why they ever named that. Number 8 is, well, Swedish again. I think it's Swedish. Unleashed, Where No Life Dwells. Their first album, 1991. Again, I got it. 1991 was probably the best year ever for death metal, and that in like pre-death metal age, 89. The thing with this album is it's just really bad production quality, but the vocals are really nasty and insane, and the guitars are really fast and heavy as well. So if you like that from death metal, this album is to check out. If you like the chainsaw sound, go to this album. Then we go to number 7, which is my favorite death metal album of all time. It is Serpents of the Light by Deicide. I gotta put this one on here. I think it kind of brought in the new age. This one was 1997, I think. 97, yes, it was 97. Um, just pure blasphemy, like pure blasphemy on this album. Servant to the Light starts it out with that whole like death metal / rhyming stuff that they do, that they used to do. I used to love that. I still love that. When they did the whole, they'd make the lyrics rhyme and they would just hit you with just hard rhyming all over and over and over and over. And that's why I think Deicide was some of the best writers back in the day, and why their albums are a lot more influential. That's why I think this album is probably the most influential. That's all I got to say about this album. I've already spoke about it on the Deicide ranking I did on my channel. And we go to number 6, which is Killing on Adrenaline by Dying Fetus, of course. This album is insane. It's like, this is bringing in the new age, like, in an impactful way. I don't even know what year. This 1998, the year right after Deicide Serpents of the Light. This is bringing the new age with a hard hit. This one I do think inspired a lot of bands in the newer age of death metal to come out with some fast, heavy stuff. Classic. What can I say? Classic. Number 5, Children of Bodom, Hatebreeder. I had to put Children of Bodom on here because they are a major influencer on melodic death metal. That's why I put this one here. 1998, another one of that year. 1998, another good year for death metal. If you go and find all the weird new stuff that they did back then, where they were changing the whole scheme of things. Definitely a cool one to listen to. Silent Night, Bodom Night's pretty good. Children of Bodom, and this is no reflection on what albums I think are my favorites. No reflection on what albums are my favorites, by the way. Just to put that out there. Next one. Death, Scream Bloody Gore, the first death metal album, as I have the poster in the background. Yeah, I do consider this one of the most influential albums of all time. Came out in 1987. People say it's the first death metal album. I somewhat disagree, but somewhat agree at the same time. Where you can consider Possessed Seven Churches a little bit of not. You could consider it not full death metal. You consider this full death metal. Classic tracks from here are Torn to Pieces. There's Torn to Pieces, Baptized in Blood, Regurgitated Guts. This is where they were doing the whole gore type thing. Then they went to more. Then they went to more psychology type stuff and weird stuff that they did with that. Then we go to number 3. Of course, Cannibal Corpse's Eaten Back to Life is going to be on here. 1990. First album from Cannibal Corpse. They inspired the whole gore type thing towards this. This is like a horror movie if you listen to the lyrics, but a lot of bands tried to replicate that, which the next band does a pretty good job in replicating gore infested death metal. So yeah, not really anything more to say about this. Just Shredded Humans is one of the best fucking songs ever. Next one, or the second most it's not going in order, by the way. I should have said that in the beginning. It's not going in order. This is another one that did the whole gore metal, and it actually has it in the name. It is Exhumed Gore Metal. It's the one, like, this is grind / death metal with stuff like Open the Abscess, Postmortem Procedures, Blazing Corpses, Deadest of the Dead. A lot of disgusting, gory death metal in here. And what year is this from? It's. If I'm trying to find the year, should be on here somewhere. 1998. Of course, 1998. And then we go to one that came out in the 2000s. The first one that I have on. I'm going to probably do a 2000s death metal release. A whole video on that. Black Dahlia Murders. Nocturnal. It's their classic one. Most people will find this one before any other one. With What a Horrible Night to Have a Curse, their most popular song. Death Mask Divine. This album just brings the whole new age. This is like a full new age release, unlike the other ones in the 90s. This is the new age. This is the band that inspired the whole new age. Is Black Dahlia Murder. If not, I'm sorry for saying it, but a lot of people will hate me for that. A lot of people don't like the Black Dahlia Murder. I do. I put a ranking of them on my channel. I do have a couple of rankings coming up, but they will be later in the month. These discussion videos will be the most wide thing on the channel. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed the death metal video. It's hot as hell in here. I can't use AC because it'll mess up the whole sound quality of the video. And so yeah, that's the most influential death metal albums in my opinion. I will probably do more research and put some more on the next list, which will be a part 2. This is only part 1. Part 2 will maybe be the next couple of days. I just put these videos together fast, and which ones I can remember and which ones I know from heart. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.